Hello. At some point in life, many of us go through a crash course in anger management. You're told that your anger, one of our core emotions, is invalid, or that you shouldn't have felt it or reacted how you did. As a result, you carry guilt for having been angry in the first place. But that lesson is unfair and only partly true. You can control how you react, but you cannot control what you feel. When I was about 5 or 6, I used to watch Doraemon on TV. One day, the show mentioned the female character's name, Shizuka. Being at an age where associating with anything girly triggered teasing in my family, I hurried to change the channel, so that my older brother especially wouldn't notice. Naturally, he did notice. "Who's Shizuka?" he asked aloud. Not wanting him to make a big deal out of it, I said, "No one." He saw how embarrassed I was, so he repeated the name again and again in front of my parents and my teasing uncle. Eventually, I screamed and cried, begging them to stop, and they didn't. One of them would then pat my shoulder and say, "Relax, little fella. We're laughing with you, not at you." Right after, I'd see everyone nod and smile, as though it was all fun. The more I grew up, the more I started to blame myself for getting angry, and that was that. Once I decided to confront my feelings, I found myself revisiting that childhood memory whenever I thought about where my anger began. At first, I dismissed it as a silly childhood thing, but the more I recalled it, the more intense my anger and embarrassment felt. I'd find myself thinking, why am I still so angry about this? It was all in good fun, wasn't it? It was over 20 years ago, too. Then I flipped the scenario out of experiment, imagining my brother and how he would react if I teased him about something that's personal to him. How would you feel if I laughed about your surgery, the one you had to do in order to have kids? He'd be angry, no question, but I wouldn't. It may sound like an unfair comparison, but it proves how anger is unique for every person. For me, it was Shizuka. We each have our own triggers. For some, it's when they're getting talked over. For others, it's when they stub their toe. For me, it was a single name. For my brother, a surgery. Your Shizuka might look trivial to outsiders, but it matters to you. That's why it matters, period. And mostly, it's not about the word or the action itself, but what it represents to the person. In my case, the total dismissal of my feelings. For a friend of mine, getting talked over meant being dismissed as a person, making him feel like he doesn't matter at all. That doesn't just deserve anger, it pretty much demands it. Now, some might say you could have just ignored it or just moved on. True, we can learn ways to handle our anger over time, but it's always handle, not beat or fix, because anger is healthy when you know how to understand it and use it constructively. It's not your fault for feeling how you feel, even if others think it's silly or trivial. We each carry our own unique burdens, and yours isn't less important just because others don't understand it. Beyond that, emotions are as natural as your heartbeat. They are there to help protect you. And if you fight them, you can end up hurting yourself, mentally or physically. Now, I am not saying you should explode in anger whenever something triggers you. The idea is to acknowledge your anger, recognize you have every right to feel it, and then decide how or when you want to address it. That way, you're validating your anger and yourself while also keeping your interactions healthy and respectful. Your anger and all your emotions exists for a reason. To alert you, to protect you, and to help you understand what's important to you. They're a part of who you are. So instead of meeting them with guilt, try meeting them with understanding. I am angry, and I have every right to be. My feelings matter as much as anyone else's. By embracing your emotions rather than fighting them, you'll not only manage anger better, but also understand yourself and your triggers better, which in turn enhance your self-confidence. So the next time you feel angry, don't push it away. Instead, ask yourself, what is this anger trying to tell me, and what's my best course of action? Because your emotions aren't there to hurt you. They are there to guide you. Thanks for watching, and have a pleasant day.